Hi, thanks for joining me on Wilderness with Amani. It's been snowing and storming in the mountains, and it was even raining and snowing in Reno yesterday, so I headed southeast, and I'm at the East Walker River in Nevada. Now, last fall, or the end of the summer, there was a fish kill below the Bridgeport Dam, which isn't too far from here, and that killed a lot of the big fish within 2 miles of the dam and had some other effects going as far as 4 miles from it. And we are outside of that cone of influence, so this should be okay. And I'm just going to be fishing barbless marabou jig, single barbless, which fits the regulations for this area of the East Walker River. And I'm on the road to the Bighorn campground, and I'm just going to pull off and just fish as much river as I can. I fished here for Wilderness with Amani on Patreon last year. I think it was early last spring. I lost 2 nice browns, but I got one in the net that was big. It was like 20 inches. It was nice. So I'm hoping to get something like that going. I don't know what the river's like. As long as it's clear, I'm good. I don't care what the flow is. If it's low flow, I got moves for it. If it's high flow, raging whitewater, I got moves for it. What's the perfect flow? Any flow where I can fish with either my jig or my fly rod and the water's clear. That's the flow I'm looking for. And I was saying this is a single barbless catch and release only portion of river, and it's made clear by this sign right here, and this is the Rosace Ranch. And I'm gonna go on through this gate and walk on out there. You always want to make sure you close these gates, man, because I guess there's cattle and stuff and there's things to consider. Man, this is what I call perfect conditions for river fishing. It's like mid-30s, I don't need gloves, and if I do need them eventually, it won't be for long. The high is gonna be around 50. That means no bugs, no rattlesnakes, and I only have to put sunscreen on my face and neck. I'm expecting the flow to be low, and if it's too low, I can always go to my fly rod. I have my fly rod in the car. I guess the fish kill that happened below Bridgeport Reservoir, I was just reading about it. The lake is really high and it gets stratified in the summer. The vegetation dies, releases a lot of carbon dioxide or something. Then it gets really windy, turns over, releases all of that carbon dioxide into the river, and then everything died. And I guess there were 8-9 pound fish just floating up dead, which is a drag. And I don't know what the state of the river is over there. I just know that when you got that many big trout just floating up belly up, it's gonna take a long time for that to really truly recover. All right, the flow's down, but the water's clear, so we're in business. And the advantage I have with this jig in these conditions is I'm able to hit these stretches from a distance. So I don't have to sneak up so close and spook a lot of the bigger fish. I mean, I'm probably gonna spook a lot of the bigger fish even casting from a distance. So getting even closer with my fly rod is not something I'm really looking to struggle with today. And this is one of those situations where this long handle net's gonna be big, because a lot of this river, you're not close to the river unless you're in it. So I'm gonna have to do some quick casting here, and let's see if we can't get something in the net. This will be a grind today, because I mean, there's gonna be limited opportunities for me to really get something good. There's some deeper holes downstream And a lot of this stuff where I am right now is really shallow. But there's fish. So I'm gonna have to do a lot of bank-to-bank fishing. I really don't know the depth. And I'm gonna have to fish really fast. Because it's shallow and there's some muck on the bottom. But you can't just go to where you think the good spot's gonna be, because the best fish of the day might come out of this shallow stuff. So I don't know. I gotta fish everything. When you're fishing shallow stuff like this though, you wanna stay cross current and to give yourself a little bit more resistance to the flow, to give a little bit more residency time of your jig being in a spot. Because if you try to fish up and down in this with 1/8 ounce jigs, it's a non-starter, because you're just going to instantly be in the bottom by the time you even get your bail shut. But this water's totally deep enough for fish. The problem with that spot is I walked right over it and spooked it. So I gotta keep going. Put on a woolly bugger on my spinning rod because this water's just so low for to use a jig. So I got a big woolly bugger and I'm just floating it through that shallow water. Let me get my hand wet here. And that barbless hook came right out. Let's make sure he's ready to thrash around. He's ready to go back. He hit it the first time and I wasn't sure if it was him again. But with all of these sticks, it's very hard to fish a jig because the water's shallow and you can go 1-2 pops with a jig, which is enough time for the fish to get it. But it's just the woolly bugger here with my spinning rod is better. And with my ultralight 5-foot rod, even with 6-pound test, I can throw a woolly bugger a really good distance, a beadhead woolly bugger. Let's take a quick look at this fish. It's a nice brown. I'll take it. Ain't the big one I'm looking for. So as I said, I'm fishing this barbless beadhead woolly bugger. It's a big one. And with this light action rod, I can really flick this thing out there. So I flick it up into the fast water. And then it's kind of deep along that bank. So I just do little jigs and it can stay in there a lot longer. And big fish will nail this thing. And I can throw it right up into those sticks and I can drift it down. It's not going to get snagged. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. The best demonstration is one that catches a fish. And they're getting better. And these big barbless hooks and these woolly buggers are coming right out. So, you know, I always put them in the net, make sure they're strong and they're flashing around. This water's cold. It was 0 degrees when I checked the temperature in Bridgeport the other day. So my hands are wet. And got a nice brown. Ain't gonna shake a stick at that guy. Get him back into his deep hole. There he goes, nice and strong. So when I'm fishing the woolly bugger on a spinning rod, the important thing is I need to get it upstream in advance. I can't throw it, like if I was pitching a jig, I would pitch the jig right in there. It would instantly be in position for the fish. With this, I gotta throw it upstream and I gotta let it drift down. And as it's drifting down, you just gotta twitch it a little bit. You don't gotta twitch it a lot. You just gotta give it a little bit of a dance. It's a subtle dance. Like right now, it's dancing. I ain't talking about no waltz. I'm talking about a trout dance. One thing that wouldn't be a waste of taxpayer money, in my opinion, would be get out here with some kind of brush clearing machine and just mow this stuff down. You can crawl through these tunnels and then you end up in a dead end and it's just a disaster. There's a lot of spots here like this where the water flows under the tree. And all I can say to you there is good luck getting under that tree. Like I'm trying to pitch as close as I can to it, which is within inches, but you really got to get something that's willing to come out. Now I'm kind of stuck. I have no idea how I got through this stuff. It's got to be around here somewhere. It's like I got to find the magical door to get out of here. The heck? I remember crossing this little stream. Here we are. I found the opening. I found the mystical door. I'm through. I think it's time to go back to the car, regroup, and head downstream and see if we can hit some of that good water down there. There's some deep spots. And what's nice is when the water's really low like this, it's easy for me to cross in my insulated waterproof boots. Wow, someone just left this boat out here, and it looks like people have just taken the prop. They're stripping this thing down. What does this say? Abandoning personal property, trailer, and boat. Huh. What if there's anything in here I could use? So I'm at a bridge that crosses the river. That Bighorn Campground's a ways down. And we're still on the Rosace Ranch. It's cool because Nevada bought up these ranches that were along the river and turned them into public access. So hats off to the state of Nevada for doing that for people that fish. I always look over bridges like this because every now and then you can spot a big fish. I just standing on this bridge, I just spooked a fish that was like 10, 12 inches. I just watched it dart. It saw me way up here moving around. So that just tells you how spooky this situation in this low flow is right now. God, I'm standing like, I don't know, 15 feet from the water's edge up on a hill, casting a mile away, and I watched two fish get totally spooked and dart away. They somehow saw me. Wow, there's someone camping right there. I think I'm not going to go any farther if there's somebody already camping there. I may have just lost my one chance to get something good. I threw my jig in here and he nailed it. There he is. There he is. There's one. Yeah, he's not the bigger one, but he's a fish. Oh, he came off. He came off. He's not that big. Oh, man. I mean, this is getting really ticky-tacky. I'm just jigging it in these little lanes, and there's a lot of sticks in the water. It's very difficult fishing. And I'm trying to get as close to the cover as I can because that's where a lot of the fish are going to be. And I'm just pitching it out, and I'm just gently trying to keep it there as long as possible. I might have to go to a woolly bugger. God, I'm looking for any triumph I can get. And I floated nymphs through there. This is the same place I lost that other one. I floated nymphs through there. Look at this guy, he's all frisky. I floated a nymph, I floated the woolly bugger. Get my hand good and wet. Ooh, there's a little guy. He is ice cold, just like the water. Look at him go back out there. And I'm just trying to bounce this along the muddy bottom. And it's working. It's not getting anything big. I'm gonna have to get in my car and drive, I think. There's just a 5.8 earthquake out here, fairly close to here, around Urington. About a little over a week ago. And I always wonder what stuff like this will do if you're ever out here and an earthquake hits. Depending on what the situation is, I'll never want to find out. But if I was watching it from like across the river, I'd be interested to see the rocks rolling down. But there's long mats of flowing weeds in the water down there. And when the water's a little bit higher, I'm gonna target that with something. Probably just bring my jig across the top. It's a little too shallow to deal with right now though. But when the flow's up and when I come back in the spring, that should be a good target. So I always try to keep mental notes when I see stuff like that. About 3 miles from the campground, and there's this access So I think I'm gonna go look and see what's out there and see why they have this access. Maybe there's a reason, maybe it's good, I don't know. But if I don't go look, I'm never gonna know. I'm walking about a quarter mile out here from the road. So if I get out there and there's a wall of bushes I'm unable to penetrate, I'm gonna be a little bit vexed. Well, I reached river, so I'm not freaking out. Because if I got out here and there was no river, I would have freaked. All right, I think I can get my shadow on this water. Ice like this forms really fast out here. It seems like once it gets really cold, man. I came out here, the first time I came here, there were just sheets of ice on the river, and there was just no fishing. It was just good luck, buddy. Oh, I got off. This is like one of the best spots I've come across, and that little guy was there. I was hoping that would be my big fish spot. I had another spot where I had a decent size, there we go, oh, where I had a decent size brown come up and try to hit my jig out of this big stick jam, but man, I was like, I didn't even know how I'd even get it out if I was able to hook that fish. But this is definitely a good spot. I just can't get anywhere near it. There we go. There we go. There we go. It's not a horrible fish. Ooh. I mean, you know there's fish sitting in a spot like that. Oh, it's my first rainbow of the day. Oh, a good fish too. Put him in the water, make sure he's thrashing. It's a pretty good fish though. Good rainbow. Woo! Look at him go! Look at him go! All right. Usually after you get one in there, you don't want to keep casting, but I mean, I just haven't had a lot of good water like that. And that's a decent rainbow right there. I mean, East Walker. Just have this spot where this little creek is coming in, and you get a spot that's good, you got to make it count, man, because there's not a lot of spots. This is a really, really tough day of fishing. Man, I've gotten fish on 3 casts in this little area of water. And there's just a bunch of fish in this one spot. See if anything's lurking around this big bush. This is just a little side creek, but you never know. The rainbow in that stretch, oh, he got off. Darn it. It was another good rainbow. It was like that last one. Nice jet. The fighter's just cruising, man. Cruising. I'm gonna call it. It's only about 3 o'clock. I'm behind these big mountains. And I'm gonna cut this. I just caught a bunch of little browns in this campground that looks like they were stocked, and I'm not even gonna show them. I'm going to end this clip right around the last nice rainbow I caught, because the clip's already way too long. And I hooked a carp down there. I thought I had something big. I'm in the video, I'm like, finally got my big one, got my big one. Saw what it was. Hee-haw! Total jackass fish. Just a carp picked up my jig off the bottom. Whatever. The river's really low, and I was having a heck of a time. There's a lot more wild fish way upstream where I was fishing, and they were just so tight to the cover, and the water was so low flow. It was really tough to get them to come out and chase my jig. And I even had one nice brown, it was probably 16 inches. I was standing on this big thing of sticks, and I didn't have any idea how I could even land it if I was able to hook it. I threw my jig in, it came up out of this this bunch of sticks, man, and tried to hit my jig. I'm almost glad I didn't hook it, because I had my net, but I was like, what was I going to do? I mean, I always say you got to hook a fish to lose a fish, but that was a real bad spot, but it was the only cast I had. But I got some decent fish in the net. I mean, when the flow's low like this, I got to bust out the woolly buggers, the bobber and a nymph, jig, every little thing I can to try to get the fish without spooking them, but it was just, I couldn't overcome it, and I couldn't find that big one today. Last week, awesome. Hat Creek was great. The next day for Wilderness with Amani on Patreon, I got a big brown, like 22, 23 inches probably. Big old sucker. It'll be on my next highlight clip. But this week, nothing big so far. I'm heading up into the mountains for Wilderness with Amani on Patreon tomorrow. I got to start the 2-hour drive home. Probably going to have to stop and sleep at some point because I'm really tired. But I hope you enjoyed this little exploration of the low-flowing East Walker River in Nevada. And I'm going to come back out here in the spring, and we're going to see if we can't get one of those big browns I got last time. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time.